The morning started like any other day for Admiral Kate Morrison. She was drinking her coffee and reading reports when the alarms began to sound. Every screen in the command center turned bright red. The words "Unknown Vessels Detected" flashed. Across the displays, Kate ran to the main command deck of the UES Defender. Her ship was the largest in the human fleet, but even she knew it was nothing special. The Defender was old and slow, with weapons that had been built 20 years ago. It was the best humanity had to offer, but that wasn't saying much. Captain Rick Barnes was already at his station when Kate arrived. His face was pale as he stared at the sensor readings. "Admiral, you need to see this," he said in a quiet voice. "They're big, really big." Kate looked at the main screen. At first, she saw nothing but empty space. Then the computer adjusted the image and she gasped. 47 massive ships hung in the darkness at the edge of their solar system. Each one was huge, much bigger than any human ship had ever been. "How big are they?" Kate asked. "The largest ones are almost 2 kilometers long," Barnes replied. "They're covered in weapons. Our computers can't even identify half of them." Lieutenant Commander Jake Phillips was running scans from the weapons station. His hands shook as he read the results. "Admiral, their shields are incredible. They're using some kind of energy field that's 10 times stronger than anything we have." Kate felt her heart sink. She had always known this day might come. Humanity had been sending radio signals into space for over a century. Someone was bound to notice eventually. She had hoped the first aliens they met would be friendly, but these ships didn't look friendly at all. "Get me Ambassador Helen Carter," Kate ordered. Helen had been aboard the Defender for 3 weeks. She was the best diplomat humanity had, and she spoke 7 human languages perfectly. The government had sent her to prepare for first contact, but nobody had expected it to happen so soon. Helen arrived on the bridge quickly. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but Kate could see the worry on her face. "Admiral, are they trying to communicate?" "Not yet," Kate said, "but I think they will soon." Maria Santos was the sensor officer. She had been tracking the alien ships since they appeared. "Admiral, they're moving into formation. It looks like they're trying to show us something." On the main screen, the alien ships began to move. They arranged themselves in perfect lines, creating a massive wall of metal and weapons. Each ship was covered in lights that pulsed in different colors. The display was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "They're showing off," Barnes said quietly. "They want us to know how powerful they are," Kate nodded. She had seen this kind of behavior before in old military videos. When one army wanted to intimidate another, they would display their weapons and soldiers. The aliens were doing the same thing, but with spaceships instead of tanks. The communication system suddenly came to life. Static filled the air for a moment, then a voice began to speak. It was deep and rough, like metal grinding against stone. The words were in a language Kate had never heard before. "Admiral, the computer is working on translation," Helen said. "Give it a moment," the voice continued for several minutes. Kate could hear anger and pride in the tone, even though she couldn't understand the words. Finally, the computer began to translate. "Humans of the 3rd planet," the voice said. "I am War Leader Thaxon of the Zorvani Empire. We have come to offer you a choice. Submit to our rule, and your species will be preserved as a labor force. Resist, and we will demonstrate why 17 civilizations have fallen before our might." The bridge fell silent. Kate felt her blood turn cold. 17 civilizations. These aliens had destroyed 17 different species. Now they wanted to add humanity to their list. The transmission continued. "We know you are watching us, humans. We know you see our ships and our weapons. Your primitive technology cannot. Hope to match our power. Look upon our fleet and despair." Data began flowing across the screens. The aliens were sending technical information about their ships. Kate watched in horror as the numbers scrolled by. Each ship had weapons that could destroy cities. Their shields could stop anything humanity might throw at them. Their power sources were beyond human understanding. "Antimatter cores," Phillips whispered. They're using antimatter to power their ships. We can barely make a few grams of the stuff, and they're using it like we use gasoline. Look at these weapon readings, Santos added. They're plasma cannons. Could crack a planet in half. Our best missiles would bounce off their shields like toys. Kate looked around the bridge. Her crew was scared, and she couldn't blame them. The aliens had every right to be confident. Humanity had been in space for less than 200 years. They had built their first starship only 50 years ago. Compared to these aliens, humans were still children playing with rockets. Ambassador. Carter, Kate said, trying to keep her voice steady. Can you respond to them? Helen nodded. What should I tell them? Kate thought for a moment. She needed time to contact Earth and the other human colonies. The government would have to make this decision, not her. Tell them we need time to consider their offer. Ask for 72 hours. Helen opened a communication channel. War Leader Thaxon, humanity appreciates your generous offer. We request 3 solar cycles to consult with our governing councils and provide you with a proper response. The aliens. Laughter filled the bridge. It was a horrible sound like metal being torn apart. You may have your time, humans. But know that delay will not change the outcome. When next we speak, you will kneel before the Zorvani Empire. The transmission ended. Kate stared at the alien fleet on the main screen. 47 ships, each one capable of destroying Earth's entire fleet. The aliens called themselves the Zorvani Empire, and they had conquered 17 other species. Now they wanted to add humanity to their collection. Admiral, Barnes said quietly, what are our orders? Kate looked at her crew. They were good people, brave and dedicated. But they were also realistic. They knew humanity couldn't win a fight. Against these aliens, the technology gap was too large. It would be like fighting a tank with a sword. Send a message to Earth Command, Kate ordered. Tell them we have made contact with a hostile alien species. Request immediate instructions. As her crew worked to send the message, Kate continued to study the alien ships. They were impressive, she had to admit. The Zorvani had built them well. Each ship was a work of art, covered in elegant curves and deadly weapons. Their formation was perfect, showing military discipline that spoke of centuries of experience. But something bothered her about the display. It was too perfect, too planned. The aliens weren't just showing their strength. They were performing like actors on a stage. They wanted humanity to be afraid, to give up without a fight. Kate had spent her entire career in the military. She had fought in 3 different wars and had never retreated from a battle. The idea of surrendering without a fight made her sick to her stomach. Admiral, Santos said, I'm detecting movement from the inner system. 3 of our patrol ships are heading this way. Kate nodded. The patrol ships were small and fast, designed for reconnaissance rather than fighting. They wouldn't last 5 minutes against the alien fleet, but at least they would give her more information about the enemy. Tell them to maintain distance, Kate ordered. I don't want to provoke the aliens until we know what we're doing. As the hours passed, Kate watched the alien fleet. They didn't move from their position at the edge of the solar system. They just waited, like predators watching their prey. The message was clear. Humanity had 3 days to decide whether to surrender or die. Kate had no idea that deep in the asteroid belt, hidden bases were already stirring to life. She didn't know that humanity's true fleet was far larger and more advanced than these aliens could imagine. All she knew was that her species faced the greatest threat in human history, and she had less than 3 days to find a solution. Deep beneath the surface of Ceres, Commander Lisa Hall received the emergency signal. The mining station around her looked normal from the outside, but Lisa knew better. She had been living this lie for 15 years, pretending to run a simple asteroid mining operation while actually commanding one of humanity's most powerful weapons. All hands to battle stations, Lisa announced over the intercom. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The fake mining equipment began to move aside. Giant hydraulic arms lifted away the false walls and ceiling panels. What Workers had thought was a mining laser was actually the barrel of a quantum cannon. The ore processing facility was really a weapons manufacturing plant. The entire asteroid had been hollowed out and turned into a massive warship. Lisa watched from the command center as the UES Vengeance came to life. The ship had been built, in secret, piece by piece, over the past 2 decades. Every component had been disguised as mining equipment. Every crew member had been told they were working on a civilian project. Only Lisa and her senior officers knew the truth. "Commander," said Lieutenant Carl Murphy, "all systems are coming online. Weapons are charging, shields are activating, and the engines are warming up." Lisa nodded. She had been waiting for this day since she graduated from the Naval Academy. Back then, her instructors had told her about the Deep Space Defense Initiative. They had explained that humanity needed to be ready for the day when aliens finally found Earth. Most people thought it was just paranoia, but Lisa had believed from the beginning, on the moon, Colonel Sam Turner was having similar thoughts. His Luna-based defense grid looked like a simple research station to anyone who might be watching. But beneath the surface, 48 warships were hidden in underground hangars. Turner had spent 10 years preparing for this moment, and now it was finally here. "Sir," said Major Betty Clark, "the ships are ready to launch. All crews are at their stations." Turner looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was still positioned at the edge of the solar system, probably thinking they had surprised humanity. They had no idea that human ships were already surrounding them, invisible and waiting. "Begin the launch sequence," Turner ordered. "But keep the stealth fields active. I don't want the aliens to know we're here until Admiral Morrison gives the signal." The first ship to emerge from the lunar surface was the UES Thunderbolt. Its captain, Amy Rogers, was one of the first humans to volunteer for the Neural Link program. The implant in her brain allowed her to control the ship directly, making her reaction time faster than any normal pilot could achieve. Amy felt the familiar tingling sensation as her mind connected with the ship's computer. Suddenly she could see through the ship's sensors as if they were her own eyes. She could feel the engine's power flowing through her body like blood through her veins. The ship's weapon systems became extensions of her own hands. "Neural link established," Amy reported. "All systems are responding perfectly. I can feel every part of the ship." The neural link technology had been developed by Dr. Lavra Wells and her team at the underground facility in Switzerland. They had worked for 20 years to create a system that would allow humans to interface directly with their ships. The technology was still experimental, but it gave human pilots a huge advantage over any enemy. Dr. Wells watched the system activation from her command center. Hundreds of screens showed the status of ships all across the solar system. Each one was coming online exactly as planned. The aliens thought they were facing a primitive species, but they were about to discover the truth. "All neural link connections are stable," Dr. Wells reported to Admiral Morrison. "The pilots are performing better than we expected. Their reaction times are down to just a few milliseconds." On Mars, the secret shipyards were also coming to life. The Red Planet had been chosen as a construction site because it was far from Earth and easy to hide. The facilities there had been built using advanced nanotechnology, allowing them to construct ships faster than traditional methods. Captain Don Mitchell commanded the Mars Defense Fleet. His ships were smaller than the ones hidden on the moon, but they were faster and more maneuverable. They were designed to work together in large groups like a swarm of deadly insects. "All ships report ready for departure," Mitchell announced. "The stealth systems are working perfectly. The aliens won't see us coming until it's too late." The Titan Research Station was another secret facility. From the outside, it looked like a simple science base studying Saturn's largest moon. But inside, scientists had been developing new types of energy shields and weapon systems. The technology they created was years ahead of anything the aliens had seen. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Adams commanded the Stealth Reconnaissance Wing. His ships had been watching the alien fleet since they arrived, staying invisible and gathering intelligence. The information they collected was being sent to all human commanders, giving them a complete picture of the enemy's strengths and weaknesses. The aliens are overconfident, Adams reported to Admiral Morrison. They're not even running basic security scans. They think they're dealing with primitives who can't threaten them. Back on Earth, General Peter North was coordinating the entire operation from his command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. He had been planning for this day for 30 years, ever since the government first decided to create the Deep Space Defense Initiative. All units report ready, North announced. We have 312 ships in position around the solar system. The aliens are completely surrounded, but they don't know it yet. The alien fleet consisted of 47 ships, each one powerful enough to destroy a city, but humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Every ship in the human fleet was equipped with technology that the aliens had never seen before. The quantum torpedoes were one of humanity's greatest achievements. Unlike normal weapons, they could pass through enemy shields by existing in multiple dimensions at once. The aliens' gravitational shields were useless against weapons that didn't exist in normal space. Captain Roy Stone commanded the UES Intrepid, one of the few ships that the aliens could actually see. His vessel was older and looked less threatening than the hidden fleet. The aliens probably thought it was typical of human technology. But Stone's ship was actually carrying advanced sensor equipment that was mapping every detail of the enemy fleet. I'm detecting weaknesses in their shield configuration, Stone reported. Dr. Foster was right about the resonance frequency. We can exploit it. Dr. Janet Foster was the fleet's chief science officer. She had been studying the alien technology since the first transmission arrived. Her analysis showed that the Zorvani shields created a specific vibration pattern that could be disrupted with the right frequency. The quantum torpedoes can be calibrated to match the resonance, Foster explained. When they hit the shields, they'll pass right through like the shields aren't even there. Admiral Morrison reviewed all the reports from her command center. The aliens had shown them 47 impressive ships, but humanity could field over 300 vessels. Each human ship was equipped with technology that the Zorvani had never encountered. The stealth technology alone would have been enough to surprise the aliens. Human ships could become completely invisible to enemy sensors, allowing them to approach without being detected. The aliens were still using primitive radar systems that couldn't track stealth vessels. The phase shift drives were another advantage. Human ships could move through subspace for short distances, appearing and disappearing at will. This made them almost impossible to target with conventional weapons. Commander Grace Kelly had positioned her squadron behind Jupiter, the massive planet's magnetic field hid her ships from the alien sensors while they prepared for battle. Her vessels were equipped with the newest phase shift technology, allowing them to strike from unexpected angles. All ships are in position, Kelly reported. We're ready to begin the attack on your signal. Morrison looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was still in formation at the edge of the solar system, waiting for humanity's response to their ultimatum. They had no idea that human ships were already surrounding them. Invisible and deadly, the Zorvani had conquered 17 civilizations, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. Every species they had defeated before had been caught off guard, unprepared for war. But humans had been preparing for this moment for almost a century. All units maintain position, Morrison ordered. We wait for the deadline to expire. When they expect us to surrender, we'll show them what humanity is really capable of. With only 24 hours left until the deadline, Admiral Morrison began moving her forces into final position. The Zorvani fleet still hung at the edge of the solar system like a wall of death, but they had no idea that human ships were already surrounding them from every direction. Captain Dan Mitchell guided his carrier group through the outer darkness of space. His ships moved slowly and quietly, using their cold-running engines to stay hidden. The advanced stealth coating on their hulls made them invisible to the alien sensors. Even their heat signatures were masked by special cooling systems. All carriers report ready, Mitchell whispered into his headset. The drone bays are loaded and the launch systems are online. Each carrier held thousands of small combat drones. The drones were no bigger than a shuttle, but each one carried a quantum warhead that could cripple a battleship. The aliens had never seen anything like them before. Their point defense systems were designed to stop large missiles, not swarms. Of tiny fighters, Lieutenant Sarah Coleman was the drone commander aboard Mitchell's flagship. She had trained for 5 years to control multiple drones at once using a neural interface. Through her implant, she could see through the sensors of every drone in the fleet. "Sir, the drones are ready for launch," Coleman reported. "I can control up to 5,000 units simultaneously. When they deploy, the alien ships won't know what hit them." Behind Jupiter, Commander Grace Kelly waited with her squadron. The massive planet's magnetic field and radiation hid her ships completely from the Zorvani sensors. Her vessels were equipped with the newest phase shift drives, allowing them to jump through subspace in short bursts. "All ships report phase shift drives are charged and ready," Kelly announced. "We can appear anywhere in the system within 30 seconds of receiving the order." The phase shift technology was one of humanity's greatest secrets. It allowed ships to move through a different dimension for brief moments, making them appear to teleport from one location to another. The aliens had never encountered anything like it. Major Tony Rivera was Kelly's weapons officer. His ship carried the new quantum pulse cannons that could fire through subspace itself. The weapons existed in multiple dimensions at once, making them impossible to block with normal shields. "The quantum cannons are fully charged," Rivera reported. "These new weapons should punch right through their gravitational shields like they're made of paper." On the other side of the solar system, Commander Lisa Hall moved the UES Vengeance into position. Her massive ship had been disguised as an asteroid for 15 years, but now it was ready to reveal its true nature. The ship was armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. "All systems are operating at peak efficiency," Hall announced. "The quantum torpedo tubes are loaded and ready. Our main cannon is charging to full power." The quantum torpedoes were Hall's favorite weapon. They used the same technology as the phase shift drives, allowing them to pass through enemy shields as if they didn't exist. Each torpedo could tear a hole in a battleship's hull large enough to fly a fighter through. Lieutenant Kevin Walsh was Hall's science officer. He had been studying the alien ships for hours, looking for weaknesses in their design. His analysis showed that the Zorvani had several blind spots in their formation. "Commander, I've found something interesting," Walsh reported. "The alien ships are positioned to protect each other, but they're actually creating weak points. If we attack from these specific angles, we can hit multiple targets with each salvo." The Zorvani, meanwhile, had become comfortable in their position. War leader Thaxton spent most of his time in his private chambers, already planning how to divide up the human worlds among his officers. He was confident that the humans would surrender without a fight. "Sub-Commander Kelther," Thaxton called to his second-in-command, "how much longer until the deadline?" Kelther checked his chronometer. 23 hours and 14 minutes. "War leader, the humans are probably discussing surrender terms as we speak," Thaxton laughed. "Of course they are. They've seen our fleet. They know they cannot win. This will be the easiest conquest in the history of the Empire." But Thaxton was wrong. The humans weren't discussing surrender. They were preparing for the greatest military operation in human history. Ships were moving into position all across the solar system. Invisible to the alien sensors, Captain Roy Stone commanded the UES Intrepid, one of the few human ships that the aliens could actually see. His vessel looked old and outdated, exactly what the Zorvani expected from a primitive species, but hidden inside his ship were the most advanced sensor systems humanity had ever built. "The mapping is complete," Stone reported to Admiral Morrison. "We have detailed scans of every alien ship. Their shield generators are exactly where Dr. Foster predicted." Dr. Janet Foster had been studying the alien technology since the first transmission. Her analysis showed that the Zorvani shields were powerful but predictable. They followed the same basic design principles that most advanced species used. "The gravitational shields create a resonance pattern," Foster explained to the fleet commanders. "Our quantum weapons can be tuned to match that frequency. When they hit the shields, they'll pass right through. The quantum weapons were based on technology that didn't exist in normal space. They existed in multiple dimensions at once, making them impossible to stop with conventional defenses. The aliens had never encountered weapons like these before. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Adams had been watching the alien fleet with his stealth reconnaissance ships. His vessels were completely invisible, using advanced cloaking technology that bent light around them. The aliens had no idea they were being observed. The enemy is maintaining standard patrol patterns, Adams reported. They're not running any deep scans. They think they're safe. Adams had been studying alien military tactics for 20 years. He knew that most species became overconfident when they thought they had a technological advantage. The Zorvani were making the same mistake that had cost other species their lives. Captain Amy Rogers felt her neural link connecting her more deeply with the UES Thunderbolt. The ship's systems flowed through her consciousness like extensions of her own body. She could feel the engine's power, the weapon's readiness, and the shield's strength. Neural link is operating at maximum efficiency, Rogers reported. I can feel every system in the ship. When the battle starts, I'll be able to react faster than any organic pilot. The neural link technology gave human pilots superhuman reflexes. They could process information and make decisions in milliseconds rather than seconds. Against normal pilots, this would be a huge advantage on Mars. The secret shipyards were putting the finishing touches on the last group of fighters. The Red Planet had been chosen as a construction site because it was far from Earth and easy to hide. The ships built there were fast and deadly. Colonel Frank Miller commanded the Mars Defense Wing. His ships were smaller than the main battle fleet, but they were designed to work together in coordinated attacks. They could swarm enemy vessels like angry bees. All wings report ready for departure, Miller announced. The fighters are loaded with quantum missiles and ready for combat. We can launch at a moment's notice. The quantum missiles were miniature versions of the larger torpedoes. They were small enough to be carried by fighter craft, but powerful enough to damage capital ships. The aliens had never seen weapons like these before. Admiral Morrison reviewed the tactical situation from her command center. The alien fleet was positioned in a formation that looked impressive but was actually vulnerable. Their ships were too close together, making them easy targets for area effect weapons. All units are in position, Morrison announced to her commanders. The enemy has no idea what's coming. When the deadline expires, we'll show them what humanity is really capable of. The Zorvani had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed that humans were primitive because their visible technology looked outdated. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for almost a century. In 12 hours, the deadline would expire. The aliens expected humanity to surrender or be destroyed. Instead, they were about to discover that they had walked into the most carefully planned trap in galactic history. Remember, Morrison told her fleet, we're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for every species that the Zorvani have conquered. Today, we show the galaxy that bullies can be defeated. The trap was set. 300 human ships surrounded. The alien fleet, invisible and waiting. The Zorvani had no idea that their doom was approaching from every direction at once. The 72-hour deadline expired at exactly noon, Earth time. War leader Thaxton sat in his command chair aboard the Zorvani flagship, confident that the humans would surrender. He had conquered 17 different species, and they had all given up when they saw his fleet. Humans would be no different. Open a channel to the human fleet. Thaxton ordered his communications officer. On the main screen, Admiral Kate Morrison appeared. She stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, her expression calm and determined. Behind her, the human crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. War leader Thaxton, Morrison said in a steady voice, humanity has considered your offer very carefully. We have discussed it with all our leaders and made our decision. Thaxton leaned forward in his chair. He expected to hear words of surrender, pleas for mercy, maybe offers of tribute. Every other species had begged for their lives when faced with Zorvani power. Our response is simple, Morrison continued. We decline your offer. Humanity will not surrender to you or anyone else. The alien commander's face turned dark with rage. His yellow eyes glowed with anger as he processed the human's words. No one had ever refused the Zorvani Empire before. The idea that these primitive creatures would dare to resist was insulting. Then you have chosen extinction, humans, Thaxon snarled. We shall crack your worlds and scatter your ashes across the void. Your species will be remembered only as a footnote in Zorvani history, Morrison smiled slightly. Before you begin your attack, War Leader, I believe you should see what you're truly facing. You might want to run a full sensor sweep of the system. Thaxon was confused by the human's confidence. What could these primitives possibly have that would threaten his mighty fleet? But something in Morrison's tone made him uneasy. He turned to his sensor officer. Run a complete scan of the system, Thaxon ordered. I want to know the location of every human ship. The sensor officer began his scan. At first, the readings showed what Thaxon expected. A few small human ships in the inner system, outdated and poorly armed. Nothing that could threaten even one Zorvani vessel. Then Morrison raised her hand and made a simple gesture across the solar system. 300 human ships deactivated their stealth fields simultaneously. The Zorvani sensors exploded with new contacts as the hidden fleet revealed itself. Ships appeared from every direction, surrounding the alien formation completely. Impossible, Thaxon whispered, staring at his tactical display. The screen showed human vessels everywhere, far more advanced than anything he had expected. Where did they all come from? Commander Lisa Hall aboard the UES Vengeance was the first to fire. Her massive ship had been disguised as an asteroid for 15 years, but now it showed its true nature. Quantum torpedoes streaked across space toward the Zorvani flagship. The torpedoes passed through the alien shields as if they were made of mist. The Zorvani gravitational barriers were useless against weapons that existed in multiple dimensions. The first torpedo struck the flagship's hull and exploded, sending shockwaves through the entire enemy formation. Direct hit on the command ship, Hall reported with satisfaction. Their shields are worthless against quantum weapons. Captain Amy Rogers felt her consciousness merge completely with the UES Thunderbolt. Through the neural link, she became one with her ship. Her reflexes were faster than any biological creature could achieve. Her targeting was perfect, her reactions instant. Rogers locked onto 3 Zorvani ships and fired her quantum cannons. The weapons struck all 3 targets simultaneously, their interdimensional energy tearing through alien hulls like paper. 3 enemy battleships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. 3 targets destroyed, Rogers announced, her voice calm despite the incredible destruction she had just caused. Selecting new targets now. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Zorvani fought back with brutal efficiency, their plasma weapons carving through space with deadly precision. But the human ships moved like living creatures, dodging attacks with impossible grace. Colonel Sam Turner's Luna-based defense grid engaged the alien rearguard. His ships used quantum tunneling to appear directly behind enemy vessels. The phase shift technology allowed them to materialize inside the alien formation without warning. Quantum tunneling complete, Turner reported. We're right behind them. Firing phase shift weapons now. The phase shift weapons operated on principles that the Zorvani had never encountered. They ignored conventional shields and armor, striking targets through subspace itself. Turner's ships crippled 6 enemy vessels in the first salvo, War Leader. Thaxon watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart. Ships that had conquered 17 civilizations were being destroyed like toys. His sensors showed impossible things, human weapons that passed through shields, ships that appeared from nowhere, targeting systems that never missed. Sub-Commander Kelther, Thaxon shouted, damage report. Kelther was frantically trying to coordinate the defense, but the humans were attacking from too many directions. We've lost 12 ships already, War Leader. Our shields are useless against their weapons. I don't understand how this is possible. Captain Dan Mitchell's carrier group released its drone swarms. Thousands of small fighters poured out of the human carriers like angry hornets. Each drone was controlled by neural link technology, making them incredibly agile and precise. Lieutenant Sarah Coleman controlled the drone attack through her neural implant. She could see through the sensors of thousands of drones simultaneously, directing them like extensions of her own body. The drones swarmed around the alien ships, too small and fast for the Zorvani point defense systems. "Drone attack commencing," Coleman announced. 5,000 units deployed and engaging enemy targets. The drones carried quantum warheads that could damage capital ships despite their small size. They struck the Zorvani vessels from every angle, overwhelming the alien defenses through sheer numbers. Even if the aliens destroyed 90% of the drones, the remaining ones would still cause massive damage. Commander Grace Kelly's squadron emerged from behind, Jupiter using their phase shift drives. One moment the space was empty, the next moment dozens of human ships appeared as if by magic. The Zorvani had no time to react before the quantum pulse cannons opened fire. "Phase shift jump complete," Kelly reported. "We're in their formation, all weapons firing." Major Tony Rivera's quantum pulse cannons fired through subspace itself, striking targets that thought they were safely protected. The weapons existed in multiple dimensions, making them impossible to block or deflect. Every shot found its mark. The Zorvani formation began to collapse as ship after ship exploded. Their perfect military discipline crumbled in the face of weapons and tactics they couldn't understand. Ships tried to retreat, but human vessels appeared wherever they turned. Captain Roy Stone's reconnaissance had paid off perfectly. His detailed scans of the alien fleet allowed the human commanders to target the most critical systems. Every shot was precisely aimed to cause maximum damage. "Target the shield generators," Stone advised the fleet. "I'm transmitting exact coordinates now." Dr. Janet Foster's analysis proved correct. The quantum weapons tuned to the proper frequency passed through the Zorvani shields like they weren't there. The aliens' greatest defensive advantage had become completely useless. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Adams commanded the stealth wing, which continued to remain invisible even during the battle. His ship struck from unexpected angles, appearing just long enough to fire before vanishing again. "Stealth attack successful," Adams reported. "Enemy ships can't track our position. They're firing blindly into empty space." The neural link technology gave human pilots an overwhelming advantage. Captain Rogers could process information and react faster than any organic mind. Her ship danced through the alien formation, dodging plasma bolts and returning fire with deadly accuracy. Thaxton's flagship shuddered under another quantum torpedo impact. The war leader looked around his bridge in despair. Half his fleet was already destroyed, and the humans showed no signs of slowing down. "All ships, retreat to the outer system," Thaxton ordered desperately. "We need to regroup and assess their capabilities," but there was nowhere to run. Human ships surrounded the Zorvani fleet completely. Every escape route was blocked by invisible vessels that struck without warning. The battle that was supposed to demonstrate Zorvani superiority had become a massacre. The aliens who had conquered 17 civilizations were being destroyed by creatures they had thought were primitives. "Sir," Subcommander Kelther reported, his voice shaking, "we've lost over half the fleet. Our weapons can barely scratch their ships, but their weapons tear through us like we're made of paper." The impossible was happening. The mighty Zorvani Empire was being defeated by humans. The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. When the last Zorvani ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, the solar system fell silent except for the gentle hum of human engines. Where once a mighty alien fleet had threatened humanity, now only debris drifted through the darkness of space. Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, watching the wreckage float past her view screen. Pieces of alien metal caught the light from the distant sun, sparkling like deadly stars. It was hard to believe that just an hour ago, these ships had seemed invincible. War leader Thaxton's flagship had been the last to fall. The massive vessel had fought desperately, firing its plasma cannons until the very end. But human quantum torpedoes had finally breached its hull, and the ship had broken apart in a series of explosions. Faxon's final transmission had been just one word: impossible. Captain Rick Barnes approached Morrison with a damage report. "Admiral, we've completed our sweep of the battle area. All 47 enemy ships have been destroyed, no survivors detected." Morrison nodded slowly. The victory was complete, but she felt no joy in it. The Zorvani had forced this fight by threatening to destroy humanity. She had simply done what was necessary to protect her species. "What are our losses?" Morrison asked. "Minimal," Barnes replied. "We lost 3 fighters and 1 corvette. Total casualties are 11 killed and 23 wounded. The aliens never had a chance to mount an effective defense." The numbers were staggering. Humanity had destroyed an entire alien fleet while suffering almost no losses in return. The technological advantage had been even greater than anyone had hoped. "Commander," Lisa Hall's voice came over the communication system from the UES Vengeance. "Admiral, we're detecting several alien escape pods in the debris field. Should we recover them?" Morrison considered the question carefully. The Zorvani had come to destroy humanity, but taking prisoners was the right thing to do. Recover the pods and treat any survivors according to the rules of war. They may have useful information. Captain Amy Rogers disconnected from the neural link system, feeling strange as her consciousness returned to her own body. The battle had been like a dance, with her ship moving in perfect harmony with her thoughts. Now, sitting in her command chair, she felt slow and limited. "Neural link disconnected," Rogers reported. "All systems returning to manual control." The technology performed flawlessly during combat. Dr. Lavra Wells monitored the disconnection process from her facility in Switzerland. The neural link had worked better than anyone had dared to hope. Human pilots had reacted faster and more accurately than any biological creature should have been able to. "All neural link pilots report successful disconnection," Wells announced. "No adverse effects detected. The technology is ready for full deployment across the fleet." Captain Roy Stone began coordinating the salvage operation. His ship, the UES Intrepid, moved carefully through the debris field, scanning for useful alien technology. Every piece of Zorvani equipment would be studied and analyzed. "We're detecting some interesting energy signatures," Stone reported. "Their antimatter containment systems are still intact on several ships. This technology could advance our understanding by decades." Dr. Janet Foster was already making plans for studying the alien wreckage. The Zorvani had been more advanced than humanity in some areas, particularly energy generation and gravitational manipulation. Learning their secrets would help prepare for future encounters. "Begin recovery operations immediately," Foster ordered her science teams. "I want every piece of alien technology cataloged and analyzed. We need to understand how they built ships this powerful." As the hours passed, reports began arriving from across the solar system. The hidden human fleet had performed perfectly. Ships that had been disguised as mining stations and research facilities had revealed their true nature and fought with devastating effectiveness. Colonel Sam Turner's Luna-based defense grid had destroyed 12 enemy ships without taking any damage. The phase shift technology had allowed his vessels to strike from impossible angles, appearing inside the alien formation without warning. "All lunar ships report mission success," Turner announced. "The enemy never adapted to our tactics. They kept trying to fight us like we were using conventional technology." Captain Dan Mitchell's carrier group had proved the value of drone warfare. His thousands of small fighters had overwhelmed the Zorvani point defenses, delivering quantum warheads with surgical precision. "The drone swarms performed beyond expectations," Mitchell reported. "We destroyed 15 enemy ships while losing less than 10% of our fighters." The aliens had no defense against this type of attack. News of the victory began to spread throughout human space. The colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan celebrated as word reached them that the alien threat had been eliminated. Humanity had faced its first test against a hostile alien species and emerged victorious. But Morrison knew that this was only the beginning. The Zorvani Empire still existed somewhere in the galaxy. When their fleet failed to return, they would send investigators. Eventually, they would discover what had happened to war leader Thaxon and his ships. Send a message to Earth Command, Morrison ordered. Tell them we need to prepare for the Zorvani response. This victory will make us enemies of their entire empire. General Peter North received the message at his command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. He had been coordinating the battle from Earth, watching as decades of preparation finally paid off. The Deep Space Defense Initiative had worked exactly as planned. Begin Phase 2 immediately, North ordered his staff. We need to expand the fleet and prepare for larger conflicts. The galaxy now knows that humanity is a military power. The revelation of humanity's true capabilities would change everything. For nearly a century, humans had appeared weak and primitive to any aliens who might be watching. The few ships visible to outside observers had been deliberately outdated, designed to make humanity look harmless. Now that deception was over, the galaxy would learn that humans had been secretly building the most advanced fleet in known space. Species that had once ignored Earth would now have to consider humanity as equals or even superiors. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Adams led the first human expedition beyond the solar system. His stealth ships carried a simple message: humanity was no longer hiding. His mission was to make contact with other species and establish diplomatic relations. All ships report ready for interstellar travel, Adams announced. We're carrying full ambassadorial credentials and enough firepower to defend ourselves if necessary. The message humanity would carry to the stars was clear. Earth's children were ready to take their place among the galactic community. They would offer friendship to peaceful species and protection to those who needed it. But they would also make it clear that attacking humanity was a fatal mistake. Commander Grace Kelly was promoted to admiral and given command of the new exploration fleet. Her ships would map unknown regions of space and search for other civilizations that had been conquered by the Zorvani. We're going to liberate every species the Zorvani enslaved, Kelly announced to her crews. Humanity will not allow bullies to control the galaxy. The wreckage of the Zorvani fleet drifted slowly through space, a monument to alien overconfidence. The species that had once lived in caves and hunted with stone tools had become the most powerful military force in known space. Captain Rogers prepared her ship for the next mission. The neural link technology had proved itself in battle, and now it would be installed on every ship in the human fleet. The galaxy's predators would learn that humanity was not prey. Dr. Wells began planning the next generation of human technology. The neural link was just the beginning. Her teams were already working on new weapons and defensive systems that would keep humanity ahead of any potential enemies. As Admiral Morrison watched the stars from her flagship's observation deck, she reflected on what had happened. The Zorvani had displayed their battleships expecting humanity to surrender. Instead, they had witnessed the birth of a new galactic power. The message was now clear to every species in the galaxy: humanity would never again be underestimated. The age of human expansion had begun, and the universe would never be the same.